It was the sudden appearance of a warp storm at the Kaurava system's outer edge that first caught the attention of the Imperium, and not just the Imperium. After hundreds of years under the neglectful watch of the Imperial Guard, nearly every force in the galaxy would descend upon the planet of Kaurava, bent only on domination and victory. 3 races had long dwelled in there. The Imperial Guard, its supposed rulers, the Orc tribes of Kaurava II, which the Guard had never successfully put down, and the Necron, who had slept undisturbed for untold millennia beneath Kaurava III. Where the Chaos Marines came from, or how, none can say. Did the Warp Storm bring them, or did they bring the Warp Storm? Both appeared suddenly on Kaurava IV, and in an eye blink, half the system's Imperial forces were gone, killed or claimed by the madness of chaos. In quick succession, the others flocked to Kaurava. The Space Marines, the Imperium's super soldiers, descended on Kaurava II, planning to finally cleanse the system, both of the troublesome Orcs and the Chaos Marines, the sworn mortal enemies. The Tau appeared next, not far above, on one of the planet's moons. In the interests of protecting its ordered empire from the effects of human folly, the Tau came seeking to contain the Warp Storm, and in so doing, expand the territory's border. On their moon, they built a mighty fortress, and there forged a space cannon capable of interplanetary devastation. Among the wastes of Kaurava III, the Necrons, perhaps awakened by the disruptive forces of the Warp Storm, slowly massed their lethal legions. In quick response, webway gates, long unused, flickered to life, and Eldar poured forth, ready to battle their dark, death-dealing adversaries. Meanwhile, in the shadow of an ancient portal gate, the Dark Eldar slipped stealthily out of the murky depths of the webway. They would be like carrion birds, flying above the battlefield, and when all were weary from the fight, make the battlefield into a feasting ground. Last to arrive, and perhaps most to be feared, were the Sisters of Battle, holy maidens and bearers of the God Emperor's faith. They had come to cleanse the system of corruption and filth. Their faith left them fanatical, unafraid of death and solace in their cause. Nothing here was clean. All must be purged. Now, war rages anew, and only the victorious may write their history. Only the victorious will claim the planets of Kaurava. It was no secret that it was the warbus Gorguts himself who led the Wa in the Kaurava conflict. But who were the Orcs he led? Imperial records indicate that these Orcs had always been in Kaurava, going back at least a millennium. It seems that when Gorguts arrived, they welcomed him as a long-awaited hero. These rugged Koraven orcs had sometimes overrun the system's 4 planets, and sometimes been beaten back to their secret stronghold in the Rockclaw Mountains. There had never once been a successful attempt to breach the vast hideout there, and the orcs believed there never could be. But in the past, these orcs had always retreated to this place in great numbers at the first sign of defeat. Gorgut saw such behavior as un-orky. He insisted that you had to take a bolter round or 2 if you wanted to win. And Gorguts lived only to win. Gorgut's strategy meant that the orc stronghold was not invincible. But this did not mean that it was undefended. Reaching the lair was one thing. Penetrating its defenses was entirely another.
You see, Big Boss Gorgut, this here's the strongest and bestest orc horde has ever held an orc.
Oh, is that so, then?
Ain't no Yumi's got in here, ever. With the Rockclaw Mountains all round us, there's only one way in. Even if there was to get in, they'd have all the boys to face. Oh, and the knobs, and the tanks. Then there's the squig-offs.
Say they beat all that.
That's when we get them with the fighter bombers. We'd squash them to a pulp. We got watchers watching day and night. Nobody but an orc gets close to us without we see them and crush them to smithereens. Boss! Boss! There's enemies in the camp! What? In the camp? We gotta stop them before they gets to the killing spot. Them drums! Beat the drums! Get to 'em!
What's this here killing spot?
Beat the drums! We've got to hold the killing spot!
Bestest orc horde ever, huh?
My beautiful orc-horde!
I've had enough of this. Come on, boys. Let's get out of here.
Commander Oreskar had personally seen several engagements with the orcs, and considered them entirely beyond hope of reform. So when the Tau learned the location of the orc stronghold, directly beneath the Nan Yanoi moonbase, it was only a matter of time before they would need to be eliminated. Although no match for the orcs in close combat, or in numbers, the strategies and the weaponry of the Tau allowed them to achieve complete victory. The ancient mountain base, which had never before known a successful assault, was split open under the vice-like pressure of the Tau military. The Tau did not hesitate to claim the remote mountain enclave for their own. Teams of fire warriors and Kroot scoured the mountains for orcs who had fled, while survey teams mapped the terrain. It was only after a thorough analysis of the battle that Oriskar realized that somehow the orc warlord Gorguts had escaped. Still, there was little doubt that he would not be waging war in Kaurava anytime soon. The Blood Ravens had learned the value of speed and mobility through hard battlefield experience. Force Commander Boreal, who had studied under the famed Commander Angelos, sought to make his reliance on stationary defensive structures as small as possible. Therefore, rather than build up the Space Marines' Central Command, entire companies were reserved in the fleet above Kaurava II. These would be ready to deep strike with deadly speed into any territory, including the Blood Raven's own headquarters. If attacked by an enemy, drop pods would cover the Marine stronghold in a steely, thunderous hail, swarming the Space Marines' enemies with super soldiers and dreadnoughts. Force Commander Boreal was sure of his plan. His greatest weapon was, after all, the superiority of the Space Marines themselves. Who could weather such a rapid and devastating defensive tactic?
Commander Boreal, enemy forces in our perimeter.
Where?
Southern Quadrant, but they were on the move. Current location unknown.
There is no time to be lost. Battle, brothers! Space Marines, today the enemy is at our door. We know our duty and we will do it. We fight for our honor as Ravens, as Space Marines, and we fight in the name of the Emperor. And if we die this day, we die in glory. We die heroes' deaths, but we shall not die. No, it is the enemy who will taste death and defeat. As you know, most of our battle brothers are stationed in space, prepared to deep strike. Our perimeter has been prepared in the event that our enemies should be so bold and so foolish. We have placed numerous beacons, allowing for multiple, simultaneous, and devastating defensive deep strikes. Codex Astartes names this maneuver Steel Rain. We will descend upon the foe. We will overwhelm them. We will leave none alive. Meanwhile, our ground forces will ensure the full defense of our headquarters. We are the Space Marines. We are the Emperor's Fury.
While Commander Or-Eskar plotted his careful strategy for the subjugation of the Kaurava system, he was troubled by the danger posed by the Blood Ravens. Their position on Kaurava too close to the Nan Yanoi moon base for comfort, was only one of many reasons for his unease. The time had come when Commander Or-Eskar felt he must strike the Space Marines, or risk their strength growing to rival that of the Tau. As always, he found that the cautious deliberation with which he faced the challenge resulted in prosperity and success. The Blood Ravens fought remarkably well, but their defense was disorganized and inefficient. Taking advantage of this, Or-Eskar's forces pressed the Space Marines until they faced defeat. In Commander Or-Eskar's address to his troops, following the battle, he praised the Blood Ravens for their valor in combat, and concluded with the admonishment that, without the guidance of the greater good, surely it would have been the Tau who perished in defeat. The Imperial Guard's headquarters in the Dusala precinct of the city planet of Kaurava 1 was also the system's primary Bane Blade production facility. Under the strong and capable leadership of the new Governor-General Vance Stubbs, the Guardsmen were once again well supplied, armed, and organized. Any attacker would find themselves facing a formidable amount of firepower. Since the outbreak of the Warp Storm on Kaurava 4, the Imperial Guard had known a humbling series of setbacks. Losing a full 3/4 of their fighting men was just a start. General Stubbs was determined to triumph in the face of this and all other adversity. Unfortunately, a full regiment of Baneblade tanks, the Guard's armored superweapon, had that very day been dispatched to various territories throughout the Kaurava system. The Dusala Precinct headquarters was thus left without a single Baneblade to its advantage. But they had their factories. Repair parts, munitions, and operating crews were moved via a system of convoys to the centrally located Mars pattern buildings, which produced the tanks. These convoys, then, were to be the Imperial Guard's weakest link, and also their greatest hope.
How are the men?
Tolerable, sir.
Morale?
Good at Central, poor in the front.
Casualties?
The same, sir.
Firing squads?
20 today, 12 for cowardice in the line of duty.
Baneblade production?
Tank crew, munitions and parts are arriving by convoy on schedule, sir. As you know, it takes only the most highly trained crew to properly operate a...
I know.
Very good, General.
How many do we have on hand?
Unfortunately, sir, a shipment of 100 Baneblades has just gone out to serve.
I see. Look at this. Once this was a fine city, gleaming beacon of the Emperor's light, a center of industry. Now look at it. Commissar, I would like to see this city built up again. I would like to see towers and spires of gleaming white. I would like to see our men on parade routes, not tours of duty. I would like to see every city in this planet, every colony in this besotted, miserable system turn to the service and industry of the Imperium in the Emperor's name.
In the Emperor's name, sir.
But to see my dreams fulfilled, first we must wipe the system clean of these blasted Xenos and heretics and monsters and zealots. And to do that, this base, our center of command, must operate free of danger or harassment. Our troops are ready. Our tanks and our sentinels. And if the Emperor wills it, we will have functioning Baneblades. Tell me, Commissar, are we prepared? Or will we be lambs taken to slaughter? Well, we'll do what we can and pray for victory. The enhanced Basilisk cannon has been prepared by our tech priest engineers, has it not? It can be fired at will.
Very good, General.
It only requires an artillery spotter. We shall place our faith in the God Emperor.
In the Emperor's name, sir.
That will have to do the job. As always, we place faith in the Emperor.
Acquiring targets. Plasma fire! Cut them down!
All I fought for.
All my work, crushed. Crushed! All the good men who gave their lives for this cursed, this blasted system!
Missiles are hot.
Though my army lies in ruins today, I have not done fighting, and I will remember who my enemies are.
Missiles locking on. Missiles locking on. Missiles locking on.
Although many armies now marched across the planets of the Kaurava system in hopes of dominance, the Imperial Guard had something the others did not. Their stewardship of the system for a millennium granted them organization and infrastructure which the Tau, who looked upon Kaurava as a future addition to their empire, could not help but admire. The earth, fire, and water castes were all in agreement that the factories, maps, and communication pathways would reduce the colonization process by hundreds of years, if captured and repurposed. Thus, it was as much for administrative as military purposes that the Tau made war on the 252nd Conservator Regiment's Central Command on Kaurava 1. With calm efficiency, Commander Ores Kar's forces pierced, overwhelmed, and routed the Imperial Guard. Once victory had been achieved, the Tau claimed the vast military-industrial complex for their own, taking those guardsmen who would renounce Imperial allegiance under the safe wing of the greater good. The Sisters of Battle rely greatly on their faith. It is their sustenance and their shield. When they first came to the tainted world of Kaurava, Confessor Turganum March was quick to see how much holy light and fire it would take to cleanse the 4 planets. He therefore brought the living Saint Anais and placed her in their primary bastion in Sama on Kaurava 1. Following a secret and ancient practice, the living saint was imbued with the inviolable aura. An aura of invincibility, which would prevent any chance, he thought, of defeat. Guarded at the last by this inviolable aura, the Sisters of Battle marched with great surety. Who, in truth, would dare oppose them? What adversary could faith and fire not sweep from before them? In the face of chaos and vile aliens, the Sisters of Battle merely redoubled their fervent prayers and penances and fought on. They came to believe that glorious victory was the only outcome. The idea that any would dare attack their mighty bastion was unthinkable. The possibility that their bastion could fall beyond belief.
Good, she comes.
Sisters, the living holy saint of the Emperor, Saint Ananias, scourge of heretics. Now, in the name of the Emperor!
Good.
There, it is done. May the Emperor's blessing carry us on to victory, sisters!
We thank you, honored martyr.
So... it is true, then. These blessed shrines will confer invincibility?
Indeed. Within each shrine lies a true and sacred relic of the ecclesiarchy. Now that the edifices have been blessed by a living saint, they confer upon her the inviolable aura, as scribed and fervently mastered by the great ecclesiarch Jonasiah Vuonis.
And wherever she goes, no harm may befall us?
Precisely. Neither our persons nor our belongings.
One pure bright candle amidst a sea of filth and darkness!
That is well said, Canoness. This is a tainted system. It may, in fact, be irredeemable.
Then we shall purge it with fire. I have yet to find a cinder that was not faithful in its praise of the Emperor. All is made ready? Yes, mistress. Good. These would-be conquerors shall have a taste of our fire and faith. The Emperor will punish them through us.
Pick your targets. Don't let the prey get away.
Sisters, we must go as martyrs! We must go in flames! In flames!
Keep firing! Keep firing!
Commander Ores Ka was perturbed by the religious zealotry which he witnessed in the Sisters of Battle. In it he saw, perhaps, a twisted mockery of his own devotion to the greater good. When the Tau brought their military might to bear on the Sisters' stronghold, they found the challenge a perfect example of the closed-minded and closed-fisted approach of the fanatical humans. The remarkable powers that the Sisters of Battle displayed, though they amazed the Tau, could not turn the tide of the battle, and the Tau prevailed. It was with some surprise that the Tau found they could not take prisoners of war among these humans, as they had often done in conflicts with the Imperial Guard. The foolish humans insisted on dying, beyond all reason. When the battle was fully won, Commander Oris-Ka ordered the city of the Sama district scoured, so that they could learn the technology that had produced invincibility, and the other marvels that had been used against them. Strangely, this technology was gone, and the Tau were unable to account for it. It may never be known what first awakened the cold legions of the Necron from their vast burial vaults in the southern coast of Kaurava III. Archives suggest that Imperial Guard survey crews may have been dispatched to coastal Imosa several months before the conflict. Others point to the strange and unknown influence of the warp storm, which could somehow have roused the deathless Necrons from their slumber. Out of the dry Imosan sands, an ancient complex emerged. Part burial ground, part power plant, part staging ground. As builder scarabs removed sands and restored structures to power, its clean-cut, symmetrical, and lifeless form emerged. It pulsed with the green glow of the strange power which fuels the Necrons. Vast reserves of it. Enough to drive an endless stream of monoliths and Necron soldiers. Anyone foolish enough to assail this unearthed necropolis would do well to heed that flow of energy. It is the source of the Necron's power, and if unchecked, there is little limit to what strength Necrons could marshal against their foes.
So, they come. Awake. I give you energy. Drink of it, and awake. They shall meet their ends. They shall join the army of death.
Don't let the prey get away.
Tau Firecast believed that they had learned a great deal with regard to the Necrons in the War of Cronus. It was therefore with some dismay that Commander Orsk found the deathless and unreasoning foe headquartered in an entire city, half exhumed from beneath the Emosan sands. His fire warriors had shown themselves capable of dispatching the slow-moving legions from a distance. But who could say what new forms of the enemy lurked in this strange necropolis? A fire warrior, however, is trained from an early age to cleave to truth, to observe the greatest discipline, and to accept all threats with calm reserve. Even the ancient god, the great deceiver, could not cause their rout. Indeed, the wise teachings of the greater good were tried and proved on this day. Following the traditional victory ceremonies, Commander Orsk oversaw the careful destruction and sealing of the Necron city before the Sea of Sand was returned to cover it. More than any other race, the Eldar concern themselves with the distant past and the distant future. In visions, Farseer Keris anticipated the reawakening of their ancient foes, the Necrons and Kaurava III. A webway gate, unused for many millennia, flickered to life. In the blink of an eye, a barren tract of the wasteland planet became a sprawling base of operations, and the Eldar army poured forth from it. Just as quickly, this stronghold vanished from the naked eye, concealed by Eldar artifice. The Eldar had learned long ago that no bulwark, no matter how strong, could halt the slow, implacable progress of the Necrons. Only illusion, deceit, and misdirection could accomplish that goal. And these are things at which the Eldar are peerless. The Eldar had prepared a harrowing gauntlet for their invaders, with all the feints and deceptions they could muster. This stronghold was not just a foothold, not just a key strategic point, not just home to many Eldar secrets. No! Through its long history, it had become sacred to the craft world Eldar, and they would defend it accordingly.
They approach. We are prepared.
Yes, Farseer, but
Yes?
must we fight?
We shall fight. They must never suspect. They shall come, expecting the obvious, the simple, the artless. They shall stab at the shadows with confused minds and troubled hearts. Meanwhile, we shall appear unseen from 10 directions, and from every one, strike a fatal blow. Do you know the history of this place, which we call Esselir Talith and the young races call the Upper Wastes?
We, the Eldar, made our war camp here. In a past age.
Yes, that is so. Our ancestors came here to fight the Necrons when they were an overwhelming wave that swept the worlds. This system was one of their stages of destruction, their foundries of undeath. Our ancestors defeated them here. We constructed our war operations center here as an illusion. No brute army, no simple display of force could uncover its secrets, and none ever shall. No, it is more than an illusion. It is a clever trap, This place our ancestors forged. It is a net covered in leaves that the savage beast willingly stands on, tempted by a bloody morsel, only to find itself hoisted, trapped, at the hunter's mercy. No, we shall guard our secret. No force can strike a target it cannot find. We shall not yield up our foothold on this world. Karava was once ours, and shall be ours again.
Cut them down!
We came here long, long ago.
Pick your targets!
We did battle with our deathless foes, the Necrons, and won. This day we have lost. If they swarm again like locusts here, some other must stop them.
Don't let the prey get away! Eat plasma fire! Eat plasma fire! Keep firing! Keep firing! Cut them down!
For we shall be gone.
Since arriving in the Karava system, the Tau commander Oreska had watched the Eldar forces closely. Puzzled by their presence, he had endeavored to grasp the nature of their interest in the conflict. Unfortunately, Oreska was unable to know the ancient feud between the Eldar and the Necrons, or interpret the actions of Farseer Keris, who led not by strategy in the Tau sense, but by powerful visions of future dangers. To him, the Eldar were on an inexplicable warpath. Although he could not reconcile this with past knowledge of the Eldar, he determined that their presence in Karava was incompatible with the greater good. The hot, dry lands of the Upper Wastes were an advantage to Commander Oreska's fire warriors. With their calm discipline and well-orchestrated tactics, they drove the Eldar from the field. Oreska ordered his warriors to allow fleeting Eldar to escape. But after the battle, the land was scoured for webway gates, all of which were destroyed. The great commander hoped that in this fashion, the Eldar would hear of the Tau superiority and benevolence, and one day join them under the banner of the greater good. Little was ever uncovered, and little will ever be known of how the warp storm was unleashed on the Karava system's fourth habitable planet. Whether guardsmen there grew corrupt and turned to evil worship, or whether the storm took them unawares, is an open question. What is without doubt is that at the storm's eye lay the lair of the Chaos Space Marines. And at the heart of this lair, a network of unholy and blood-stained shrines, linked somehow inextricably to the storm itself. Although the lethal warp storm would flicker and squall here and there, ever shifting, a permanent conduit to the warp was maintained between these shrines. A charged field of immateria whirled there, certain death to any who had not given themselves over fully to chaos. In that radiant, deadly energy field, strange shapes could be seen dancing, screaming, howling. Any would-be conqueror of this unholy citadel would somehow have to dispel the chaos field that protected it. To enter it would be certain death, And while it stood, nothing could reach the forces of chaos that lurked at its center.
They come! They come!
Yes, we feel them. They approach. Their blood shall flow at our feet. Blood for the blood god! Yes, we shall slake our thirst for death, for chaos, for terror! Yes!
They draw near. Let them come. The very ground will poison you. Demons will appear from the warp when your back is turned. And we shall lash out from every direction, and yours shall be the cries of death and horror. The sound of your doom will ring in your skull, in your soul. You shall tremble, and your blood shall be a gift to the blood god. Let them come. We are ready. No! We cannot lose! We cannot die! How can we?
Without a devotion,
Plasma fire!
without a sacrifice.
The horrid blossom of chaos will wither! We'll die! This world is slipping from our grasp.
I will strike the killing blow.
had long watched the Chaos threat, and felt that the aggressive presence of the Alpha Legion could no longer be tolerated. The promise of Kaurava as a new and important sept in the Tau Empire was too enticing to permit such a threat to remain. All the ordered military strength of the Tau was brought to bear on the peninsula of Isolt. The Chaos Space Marines, though fearsome warriors, buckled beneath such a constant and unswerving assault. Commander Oris Ka knew better than to try and take prisoners or parley at all with the survivors among the ranks of Chaos. Instead, his army removed itself for the powerful Arca cannon to fire repeatedly on the defeated stronghold until it was certain that no life could possibly remain there. The Dark Eldar little feared an attack on their base of operations, situated as it was on the dark side of the moon, well within the reaches of the warp storm of Kaurava IV. The seventh ancient gate lay on that moon, but the Dark Eldar, knowing its technology well, had fixed it to work only for them when they had arrived there. The effect of this hubris and the general anarchic nature of Archon Tarald's soldiers resulted in a sprawling makeshift reproduction of Komorah, the Dark Eldar home city. Surrounding the major war camp lay smaller camps, surrounded by miles of torture ground, a sort of cage garden of the homunculus Grumman Nael's making. rich with plunder in slave scraps and goods. This area had grown and sprawled. Meanwhile, the center grew dense with powerful Dark Eldar, and the legendary Asdrubael Vecht, leader of Taril's Blackheart Cabal, was said to oversee the war preparations there. To say the Dark Eldar were unprepared for an attack would not be quite accurate. The Dark Eldar are ever ready for battle. It is a sport and a passion to their kind, and there is no such thing as catching them off their guard. Nonetheless, the miles of torture gardens were poorly attended at best, and full of prisoners, many still capable of turning against their captors. For an attacker, there was a faint glimmer of hope.
We are fresh from the fight. We have shed blood. Death, terror, and anguish sang sweetly in our ears.
But Lord Taryn, have you taken prizes?
Do you doubt me, Krumenea? Many prisoners were taken. We have our tribute to Komara, and many left over from our slave chambers and your torture grounds.
Come, Archon! Come to my torture grounds. We win and lose, but always richer with slaves and spoils.
Indeed, we shall be well respected and rewarded when we return to Komara.
When we return, if we return. Return the victors. Return the vanquished. My grounds, where screams are flowers and pain their fragrance. A fine, fine nest we have. High upon the cliff, hard to see, harder still to reach. Will they reach this nest? Will they take away my garden?
Are you questioning my right to lead? My inevitable victory? I am the deadly shadow and the bird of prey. I am the poisoned dagger that brings swift death. These crude and foolish armies know nothing of strategy. If they see a wall, they attack it. If they see an army, they charge at it. They will be too busy with each other to notice us. Or if they do, it will be too late. Worry not. And it is of no matter, we keep a keen watch. If an army approached, surely we would see it coming. Then we would tear it to pieces.
Tarl, you fool! I will have your head for this. Quickly, back to Kamala.
Well, if he had died, I should have taken his place. Now I must flee.
In a system slated to be annexed into the Tau Empire, there was no place for the barbaric piracy of the Dark Eldar. Until the time that they were prepared to attack, Commander Or-Eska was barely able to tolerate the savage raiding and dishonorable tactics of the Blackheart Cabal. Now, their time had come. With ordered effectiveness, the Tau were able to take the Dark Eldar off their guard, swiftly scattering their forces and obliterating all that did not flee back into their webway retreat, where the Tau could not follow. It is unfathomable, Commander Or-Eska later wrote, how this wanton and senseless people could bear any relation to the craft world Eldar. one of the only powers in our galaxy who possess some hope of one day embracing the greater good. Defeating 8 powerful armies was a potent demonstration of the great strength, great strike tactics which Commander Oreskar espoused. Although his theories had been met with skepticism before, his superiors now debated the merits of such strategies and ways to incorporate them into standard Tau warfare. With the Kau River conflict definitively settled, Commander Oreskar's first cautious step was to complete and upgrade the defenses of the Nanyanoi stronghold. Meanwhile, the Warp Storm, which was the purported reason the Tau had entered the Kau River system, silently folded in upon itself and vanished. With the Warp Storm gone, the Tau fleets began to make their way to Kau River untroubled, and a massive colonization project then began. Commander Oreskar was not to stay in the system which had found peace and the greater good. Instead, the ethereal Aun Roir assumed leadership, guiding the way towards Kau River, becoming a full-fledged sept of the Tau Empire.